let's go for a ride. Okay, let's talk about the magic of the base layer. This winter I have done more outdoor riding than I've done ever before, and I've come into this year feeling pretty strong, which I'm feeling good about. Now, I think on reflection, one of the most important things for getting outdoors and riding in winters is feeling comfortable in the cold, in the rain, and in all of the weather that the UK can throw at us. I mean, ironically, it's actually quite a nice morning this morning. Obviously, layering is key, like having multiple layers of things on. There's been one bit of kit that I've discovered this year that has been absolutely game-changing. Any guesses? Of course, it is the trusty base layer, my friends. The cornerstone, the foundation to any good winter layering kit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Base layers are not new. This is not new information, and I can feel you slowly moving your mouse to the top corner of this screen to click away. But maybe just wait a second, because I thought that too. I thought I knew everything about base layers. I owned multiple base layers, but I've spent many hours researching this topic because, I mean, I love a good research. And I've discovered some things that I didn't know before. So maybe just hold on a little bit, watch to the end of this video, and ultimately I want to give you my pick of what I think is the best cycling base layer that you can buy right now. Now, despite the base layer, I'm starting to get a little bit cold, so I'm going to finish this ride, get back to the studio, and I'll let you know which base layer you should buy. Right. Back home for a coffee. Okay, I'm back home. It's actually much later in the day, but let's continue a little chat about base layers. So firstly, what is a base layer? Essentially, it's a piece of clothing that you wear closest against your skin in the layering system. But what makes this particular bit of kit so interesting is that it needs to wick away the sweat from your body to regulate your core temperature. Now, this ability to regulate your body temperature, now that's the important part, both to keep you warm when you're cool, but also to keep you cold when you're warm. The same base layer can do both of those things, and that's what makes it pretty magic. Okay, so my sort of loose summary of the science is that what a base layer does is that it slowly evaporates your sweat in like a vapor form, moving it away from your core and sort of out your other layers. And I'm sure there's like more science to it, but it's essentially that like wicking of sweat and moving it away as a gas, as a vapor, is what keeps your body either cool or hot, depending on the climate. And it's really quite impressive how well these things work if you get a good one. But what I've learned is that not every base layer is the same. There's some good ones, there's some bad ones, and there's just a whole bunch of them that are fairly average. So there's 3 key things to look for when you're buying a base layer. And the first and the most important is material. From my research, there's only really 2 materials worth considering. The first is merino wool, and the second is a synthetic material called polartec power grid. You've probably already heard of merino wool. It's a natural fiber from a specific type of kiwi sheep. And it's evolved over many years to keep these sheep pretty warm in quite extreme environments. So we know it's going to do a pretty good job. Merino wool absorbs and wicks away the sweat from the body due to its like porous fibers. These then trap that warm evaporated sweat or that air and use it as an insulating layer to keep you warm. Think of it as like little pockets of air gently hugging you when it's cold. In contrast, synthetic fibers usually only wick away sweat in liquid form, meaning that your body has to use energy to then evaporate that, which results in you getting colder, more clammy. However, there is one synthetic material that's been developed to basically overcome this problem, and it's called polartec power grid. And technically speaking, it has like a very similar construction to the merino wool. It essentially has porous fibers, it has these little pockets and sort of regulates your body temperature and keeps you warm. And over the last couple of months as I've been doing this research, I've bought one of each. This merino base layer from Rapha, and then this polartec synthetic base layer from Universal Colors. Now, which one of these is better? Well, I've done the testing and we'll get to that in a minute, but there's a few other things that we've got to cover quickly. But I do have a favourite. Welcome to those of you who skipped through this entire video and just landed at the summary at the end. Just know that you've missed out. And there's still time to go back to the start. Okay, so let's address firstly this whole merino versus polartec synthetic thing. What's the differences and why might you prefer one over the other? So merino is a pretty special material and it's all natural, which means that a lot of you out there might prefer it for that reason. But it also has this special feature of being pretty odor resistant. So you can wear a merino wool base layer for like 4 or 5 days and it won't start to smell like other clothes maybe would. And so this is ideal for like a multi-day bikepacking adventure, or if you're commuting and you only want to wash stuff once a week. And it is to some extent like microbacterial, what's the word? Antibacterial. It's in some respects antibacterial as well, so you don't have to worry about that. However, the downside of merino is it's pretty expensive. Obviously, being a material from a small part of the world and grown naturally, it has a cost equivalent to that. Expect to pay anywhere between like 65 and 125 pounds for a base layer, depending on how thick and what brand, etc. This one from Rapha comes in at a pretty respectable 70 pounds, but it is a little bit on the thin side for like deep winter, and they do have some thicker ones that are slightly more expensive, but yeah, 70 pounds, pretty good for merino wool. Polartec, on the other hand, is a synthetic material, and another benefit of Polartec is that it's usually a bit cheaper than merino depending on where you buy and what brand you buy. However, it is a little bit more prone to odours, and so you might just need to wash it a little bit more regularly, but I guess in that respect it's just like the rest of your cycling kit. But all that said and done, what is my favourite base layer and what is the one that I think is the best cycling base layer that you can buy right now? Well, it's this synthetic Polartec base layer from Universal Colours. I picked this up for about 35 quid. It was in the sale at the time. I think you can still buy them. They've got a bunch of different colours, and I think they're anywhere between like 40 and 60 pounds depending on where you get them from. But for me, this just ticks all of the boxes, and I've found over the last few months it's always the base layer that I'll go to grab before going out for like a colder winter ride. I find it warmer than the Rapha one. I don't know if that's just because of the thickness. Maybe if it was a thicker merino wool version, I'd prefer that. The fit is definitely better on this one. It just hugs the body a little bit more, and I find that the tighter the fit, the warmer you are. It's also made from recycled polyester, which is nice to know that there's some recycled material in there. And also, like, Universal Colours are just one of my favourite companies at the moment. I think that their design, their colourways, their performance, their commitment to sustainability and the environment, all at like a really competitive price point is, I just think, unmatched at the moment. And just as an FYI, I bought all of this with my own money. I don't, at this point, have any affiliation with either of these brands, but Universal Colours, if you're watching, my DMs are open. We should have a chat. All right, let's wrap this up. So I know that some of you might be thinking, cycling is already super expensive. Do I need to go out and buy another piece of kit and spend 60 quid or whatever it might be? And what I would say to you is, if you're the kind of person who's already out riding in winter, you've got your layers, you're warm, then don't worry about it. You clearly have a good system that's working well for you. But if you're the kind of person that's like checking the weather forecast, looking out the window, and decides not to go for a ride because it's a little bit too cold or it might rain, and you just find yourself not getting out the bike that much in the winter, then I would definitely look at trying a good base layer, because I think that combined with, you know, a few other good layers, this is going to make a huge difference and you're going to be far more comfortable going outside. Now, like I said, this base layer is not going to keep you warm on its own, right? The other layers are important, but I think that the base layer is the most important out of all of them. Anyway, you can see I'm a big fan. I like base layers. You should get a good one. That's basically the entire point of this video. So I hope that was helpful. This is a new kind of video for me. I am in the process of experimenting, of trying new things. So if you've come across the channel, if you've watched a few videos, then I'd love to hear what you think. What are the kind of videos that are working well? What are the kind of videos that you're just not that interested in? And if you have watched a few videos and you're not subscribed, then please could I ask you to just head down there and hit subscribe. It only takes a couple of seconds and it makes a huge difference to the channel. The more people that are subscribed, the more that YouTube's going to show these videos to other people. The more people that watch the videos, the more time I'll be able to spend making these videos, the more opportunities that I'll have to go and do interesting and exciting things and make videos for you guys. So yeah, it would mean a lot. And thank you to those of you who are already subscribed. It genuinely means a lot. Anyway, let's leave the base layer conversation here and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.